selfies than ever before. And these new devices that they're using on their phones, and it's a new promo idea, is called pop socket. And you pop it on the back of your phone, but it expands so you can hold your hand in it and take a selfie.
Another gadget.
Yeah, another gadget, but a great gadget to use for trade shows.
Oh, absolutely,
yeah. And it wouldn't be that you give that to everybody, but if that person took the time to hear your pitch, you pop that on the back of the phone and take a selfie with them. So
Genius.
Put it out on social media, and wheel it out there while you're at the trade shows, because this person just came by your booth and mention them and tag them, That way they remember you. So that's a way of getting more people into your booth and getting more results. And on the thing about divide and conquer, we talked about trade show booths. Just because you build a booth doesn't mean they're going to come by your booth. Because it's more than just building a booth, setting up a thing. 74% of exhibitors don't conduct training events. They don't train their staff. If you hire someone, you go over to, say, Orlando or and do a trade show, and you don't have a big staff, you should try to go to a personnel company and get some temporary help. And get those people trained so they know what they're doing when they come to your booth, and they help you get that result. Because if you're overwhelmed, the people are going to go right out of your booth, and they're not going to know what you do.
Very, very spot on there. I know one of the company I worked with years ago was a health food distributor, and we would go to the Orlando show it was a big annual thing, and we actually had trainings at our offices here in the Melbourne area before we went over to Orlando. And one of the things the owner of the company did, he came around, he shook our hands, and he taught us how to shake hands, because so many people have, limp handshakes and want us to be firm. And one of the things he said, I don't ever want to see you sitting down. You're always standing up and talking. And we all had to let our customers know what booth we were at. Again, this was pre-social media. We're talking a number of years ago, but we actually called each of our customers, our clients, and to find out if they were going to be attending the trade show, and let them know, our booth number so that they could stop by. So again, there's always ways to do this and to get bigger successes. Now, I know, gosh, this is awesome information. I know you have a lot of, tips that you'd like to share. So is there any, before we move on to how someone can actually overcome anxiety with attendees, is there any more you want to add to a tip on how you can divide and conquer at a trade show?
Well, there's one thing. Everyone should walk the trade show floor at least once. To get to know the other exhibitors at that trade show, because they could be a potential prospect or future client. Yep. And it doesn't hurt when there is a speaker to go, make sure your booth is still have someone there, but when you go to hear the speaker, you go to the lunch that they're having, the luncheon, go in and mingle and sit with people and introduce yourself and tell them what booth number you're at.
Network.
Give out some little something, postcard with your booth number on it. Come by our booth and enter for a drawing. And it's getting people into that booth and getting them qualified as a prospect and future client.
You make this sound just so simple, so easy to be done. You're not trying to make it like rocket science type stuff. But I think you're very well structured in keeping it simple, because it's simple to start with, and people don't get run around in circles and trying to figure out hidden messages and everything. It's just laid out there. I love your process.
Well, and
thank you.
And that definitely agree with you, Richard, on that. I mean, you really do. I mean, just the way you present your expertise, and this is why someone that is not, maybe they're doing their first trade show, or just starting in business, they really need to connect with you. So before we get into some more tips, I would love for you to share with our audience how they can connect with you so that they can learn more from you.
Yes, and I'd love to, if you go to my website and download my 7 strategic tips to maximize your trade show profits, I call it my 7 secrets.
Uh-huh.
You can opt in. All you have to do is put your name and your email address. And if you opt in, I'm offering for the first, say, 10 people that opt in today, I'm giving a free 30-minute strategy session, especially if you're new to trade shows and you've never done one.
So you're going to give away 3 of those 30-minute complimentary consultations?
Actually, I'm giving away 10.
10? Okay.
10 30-minute strategy sessions for the first 10 that go in and opt into my 7. Download. They have to download it.
And that website is tradeshowwiz.com. That's TRADESHOWWIZ.com. And I do have that listed on our So Social Radio Show guest page. So go to SoSocialRadioShow.com/guest, and you'll see that. And I'll also have that up on social media on our So Social Radio Show page today as well, so that you can definitely get this downloaded, because it's just packed full of, as you say, 7 secrets. I love it, to maximize those trade show profits. So taking what the information you're sharing today on our So Social Radio Show and really expanding. So I love that idea. And thank you very much for that complimentary 30 minutes for the first 10 that actually opt in and get that. So I'll get that up there before I leave the studio today so that they can
Thank you, Chair.
jump in there right away. So I guess, you kind of shared about dividing and conquering and going in and visiting and networking, walking around the expo and visiting within the different presentations. But how do you actually overcome that anxiety with attendees? What would be a couple tips for you to overcome that as far as, the attendees coming into and meeting you?
This is something I've experienced firsthand is, they walk right on by your booth. They don't even look at it. Just go right on past it.
Unless you're standing out like that jungle
you're
one.
not even there.
Yeah.
You don't have a booth. You're invisible.
Yeah, I felt that.
So much. I see that so much. You just say, and you go, like you're not even there.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to have that friendly approach. And one thing I say is don't pounce on the attendee. And don't start talking about, rattling off about your business. Ask them questions. Ask them what their challenges are with their business right now. What is it that they're having issues with in their business right now? What's their level 10 challenge that they need help with right now?
In other words, just start conversations.
Yeah, just start a conversation, Why are they attending the trade show? What's their purpose of attending?
Mm-hmm.
Just wheel out a couple of questions at them. Ask them why why they've made this their focus on coming to this trade show. What do they hope to gain?
Uh-huh. Well, exactly.
Just simple, open-ended questions.
It seems so simple, again, but when you start getting comfortable with doing it, it just starts coming naturally. And it takes some practice, and that's where you have to just get out of your shell and start doing it. Now, what are some ideas of the types of gifts you should have available and give away at a trade show?
Well, your giveaway should bring value, okay? If I'm looking at a trade show booth, you want your trade show booth to attract people, not drive them away. And like Richard was saying, just a bunch of paper out there. How about setting up a computer screen and have some videos and say, if you step in here, you win this, or have a Wheel of Fortune prize or golfing to drive them into your booth where they get something for a giveaway.
again, that interactivity to get them involved,
Yeah.
and that's where you're building that relationship with them, the know, like, and
Right.
trust. Yeah. And they're going to start talking about your booth and tell everybody, hey, you got to go over there for the game show. Or
Yeah, go over there for the game show. They're doing a toss game thing, or they're doing a Wheel of Fortune, or they're doing golf putting, or they've got a celebrity over there signing footballs. You know, it could be a football celebrity, you know, or a basketball, or, you know, it could be a magician doing things. It's according to what kind of trade show you're going to, you know.
Yeah, we've got a good friend that he is a trade show clown. And he goes to the different trade shows and performs magic and card tricks and all these other things that a magician would do. But it lines up not just the kids, but a lot of the business people are standing there going, wow, how did you do that? You know, and all these things. He's really good. His
whole purpose is to draw attention to the booth, and companies pay him to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And he loves it.
He's not cheap, but he is good.
But again, he has proof that when he is doing this for a company, that they have a much better return on investment from their follow-ups after the show, because people remember them.
Hey, you stopped by our booth, the one with the clown in it. Do you remember? Who's not going to remember? So you move on.
Especially if that clown is giving out gifts.
Exactly. He's a phenomenal balloon twister, too.
He does.
Yeah. So he's actually, I give a shot. He's been a guest on our radio show before. He's our accountant. And I always say I got the best magician for an accountant. He works magic with my numbers. He
works magic at your trade shows, too.
Yes, he does. He does. In fact, I was going to introduce him to the Women's Prosperity Sisters. I think he'd be phenomenal at our conference.
Oh, yes, he would be. Very much so.
So he is so cool. So, gosh, all these tips are so phenomenal. And I know you've provided different ways to really stand out and make sure that you are getting the return on investment. But when the show is basically, you've been engaging, but when it's complete, so what should you do after the show ends? What are some great tips for that, so that, again, we don't lose that momentum?
Yeah, when we're all packed up and we're back at the office and it's the next business day.
Well, hopefully you've given them something that's impressed them and something that's giving them a lasting. But what I always like to do is put your less expensive things out for those people that come by the booth and break everything off your table.
Oh, yeah.
We all have them.
They come by and they got their bag out and they just started raking. But what I like to do is just put some inexpensive things out, like notepads or pens or mint. Something of that nature, but then have my tier 2 gift. I call that my tier 1, the mints and the notepads. But my tier 2 gift goes underneath that table, and that is the prospect that is coming into my booth, and I'm qualifying them, and they want to take a few minutes to learn, and I've asked them questions, and I've got my lead capture. I've captured their information. I've now got it. And I reach under the table and give them that nice gift for thanking them for taking their few minutes of their time for me to learn more about their business and what they're looking for and what their challenges are.
So those that have really, you've struck up a deeper conversation, and then there's probably follow-up set, and so you're going to have that, continue the conversation after the show, so you're making them feel even more special, and they'll remember you even more. I love that idea.
Right. And talking about what Richard was saying is, how do you engage at the trade show? How do you gauge?
Richard, how do you engage?
My first thing is, I basically walk up and say, hi, I'm Richard and you are? And you sit there and let the pregnant pause go on as long as it takes on that. Yeah. And if they don't respond, obviously in 15, 20 seconds, and, they weren't interested to start with, so I go on and say it again to the next. And I just introduce myself.
introduction and then giving that warm welcome feeling. So what really brought you to this trade show?
Mm-hmm.